Hi guys, it's April, and I need to talk about this book. As always, I will do this review the same way I do all of my other reviews. I will have the non-spoilery section up front, followed by just a dump of everything in my brain afterwards. I will let you know when that transition happens, because most of the time when I'm just dumping things out of my brain, they will contain all kinds of spoilers. And with this book, that is especially true since this is a precursor to one of my all-time favorite series by Tamora Pierce. Tempest and Slaughter by Tamora Pierce. This is the start of Numair's story. Before Numair was Numair, he was called Aram Draper. This is Aram Draper's story. He starts out as a young 10-year-old boy who goes off to the University of Carthage to study to become a mage. In the process, he meets Prince Orzone and a young girl named Varys. The three of them end up forming a very strong friendship, and that plays out in the several years at the university that this book covers. There isn't an overarching obvious storyline to this book, but there is a subtle undertone of something that could be coming later in the series, which has me really excited to see where it goes. Now this book, while it doesn't contain outright spoilers for other series as of right now, I can't tell you what is going to happen after this book, obviously, it does have a lot of subtle clues and hints and undertones that lead to things in the later series. As I was reading this, I was picking up the little hints that would later form Aram into the character that I love in Numair so much. You start to see all the things that piece together the man that you will of course see in the whole Immortal series, and I couldn't stop gushing about all of those little pieces. It made me extremely happy to see how this boy becomes the man that is just going to do all kinds of things. While at this point you probably don't have to read the Immortal series to read this series, I can't make that promise for later in the series, and there are things in this story that you will not pick up unless you have read the later books in the Immortal series. A lot of these characters will come into play later in the series for the Emperor's Mage and the Realms of the God in the Immortal series, and just knowing that and reading this story, I have a very strong desire to go right into wild magic and start seeing all of these things come to fruition that I know are building in this story right here. Overall, the story moves rather quickly because you're going through several years of Aram's life at the university. You also get to see him struggle with the idea of slavery and battle magic and how he just simply wants to care for human beings and for animals alike. It also deals with the fact that Aram is a boy and he's growing and he's going through puberty. I pointed out in the past that I really like when Tamora Pierce did this for the Lioness series and in the later series, when you have these females that are growing up and becoming strong women. She does that here in this story too, and me as a woman, it felt a little awkward at times, but I understand why she did it, because if you do it for one, why would you gloss over it for another? It made sense with the way Tamora Pierce writes, and while yes, I was uncomfortable, it's a thing that happens, and I may have giggled several times because of the words that happened. Now, one thing to take in consideration as you are listening to me gush about this story is I do have a great love for this universe and the character of Numair Aram in this story. So it's hard to be objective, so it may be a little harder to pull my bias out of this read, but overall I truly enjoyed it, and just seeing some of the gods and some of the characters that are starting to build up into a storyline that I love. If you have read the Immortal series, I highly recommend that you pick up this book because I enjoyed it so much. And now is where I preface things by saying I'm probably going to spoil some of the things that happen in this book, and I'm also going to say that I will probably spoil a little bit of what happens in the Immortal series. So if you haven't read either this book or that series yet, I highly recommend that you do both and then come back, and I have words. I have lots of words. Now, just seeing young Aram start his love for animals and for healing and learning and all of that stuff, seeing that build together and knowing that he is becoming this perfect partner for Dane and her wild magic and everything that comes with it, seeing how he builds up to the man that will partner with her so very well, it made my heart sing so much. And seeing the graveyard hag start the pieces into place when Dane is going to show up in Carthage for the Emperor's Mage, there's so much setup in this story and so many little pieces that you know are going to build up later, years and years later, and explode exponentially. Oh my goodness. Part of me is a little terrified to see what happens between Orzone and Aram because I know eventually there's going to be a big blow up that gets Aram kicked out of the country and on the run from Carthage. I want to know what is going to happen there. And I know it's going to be something dramatic, and I know a little bit of it might be just the mental state of the prince, because you can tell right there that there is something seriously going on in this poor boy's head, that he isn't quite all together. And I think a lot of that is going to play in what later happens and why Aram becomes Numar. And trust me, I have a hard time keeping the names straight right now, so if I switch in between those, I am sorry. And seeing the budding romance of Varys and Aram, I know it's coming. I knew it was coming. It's going to be a thing that kind of plays out later in the series as well. And I'm letting it happen, knowing that in the end, Dane is going to win and it's going to be a beautiful, beautiful thing. But part of me is like, how is this going to work? How? You know when you have an OTP and you truly enjoy that OTP, and seeing the past of one of those people in that pair and knowing that it is going to have a huge effect on creating him, but still being like a little weird about the fact that he really likes her. It's gonna go wrong. It's gonna go wrong and it's gonna break my heart. It's gonna break his heart, but I know it's for better things. I know. But overall, I just really like seeing all of the little knowledge tidbits starting to build up in Aram that will later play out in Numar. I think that is my favorite thing about this book so far, and I hope it continues to play out in the whole series in general. I can't wait to see what Pierce does with this series. If you've read any of these books, tell me down below and let's start a conversation. I heart you beautiful faces. Bye.